Welcome back to another episode of Shark Jockey Weekly, where we cover the culture of sports, some of the latest topics, and even step out the bounds a little bit. We're back with another episode. We're going to kick this off, and we're going to talk about some of the upcoming games in week one of college football. Me and Pace we picked some of our games that we want to share some more information on. Plus, we got some, one or two NFL updates, but then we got another story we're gonna jump into that's kind of out of bounds a little bit. And Pace, let's get started, man. You and I talked about some games this week, and I know at the top of your list you got Florida and Miami. Talk about that game.
It's interesting, man. It is a situation that I think could define both programs. Two program defining one game that defines two programs, probably more so than any other game that they've had outside of national championship games. Just because neither program is performing, I think, to the expectations of fans, alumni, boosters, just the fan base in general. And there's been, I mean, you don't get me wrong. I mean, Florida's in a tough division, the SEC, and they're in the East. They got to see Georgia. They got to see Auburn, a bunch of other teams. We get that. It's not an easy place to play. Then Miami just hasn't really been able to get back on since the Larry Coker days, since the teams when they had Porters, McGahee, all those guys, Ed Reed. So uh, just to get into it a little bit, I mean, first of all, Florida has, when I tell you, probably the hardest schedule in America. As it stands right now, they have eight ranked teams on their schedule, and another two who could very easily be ranked by the time they play them in UCF and Kentucky. When I tell you, man, it's a murderer's row, and the shining star for them is they're playing at home, and the Swamp is a difficult place to play. What's scary for me for them is the offensive line's in flux. Um, on the outside in terms of receiver, they got a couple of guys in. They lost the guy Ricky Pearsall to the draft. He's a first round draft pick, but they returning Eugene Wilson. He's coming back with 61 catches, 543 yards, six touchdowns, and Elijah Badger, transfer from Arizona State. He's to take the top off the defense type of guy. The irony of that is they rank at the bottom of the SEC in terms of passes over 20 yards. And the starting quarterback Graham Mertz took 30 sacks last year, that's a lot, man. That's a kid to take 30 sacks. And they also signed the number one quarterback out of high school last year, DJ Lagway, who was the Gatorade Player of the Year nationally for the whole high school football. So, on defense, they got some guys. They lost their top sack guy to Ole Miss and transfer portal. And the next closest guy was maybe five sacks. Um, and it's tough. And even from an offensive perspective, just some of these numbers. Um, Graham Mertz, 11% of his passes were going for 20 yards. 31% of his passes were behind the line to a running back. You know what I mean? Um,
Wow.
and so I say all that to say they lost their top running back to Georgia, Trevor Etienne, who's the younger brother of Travis Etienne, who's from Clemson. Winning national championship days, he's with Jacksonville Jaguars now. Um, the guy who's replacing him is Montreal Johnson. He's at 800 yards, but he's not a breakaway guy, not a home run hitter. I say all that to say, man, if Florida can't control the offensive line, the line of scrimmage, and get some push in the run game, I think it'll be a long day for them. I really do. I think Miami's coming in just a more talented team. Um, it's a team that probably just is in a little bit better position in this game. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a road game. You still got the first game jitters. You don't know. We spoke to this last time. You don't know what you're going to get. Now, you can have all five stars. You can have three Heisman Trophy candidates, and it just fall apart the first series. You just never know. Um, but for all intents and purposes, Miami just is structured better. They got pretty much the whole entire line coming back. some guys who battle tested, got some reps as early young pups. Cam Ward's coming in, transfer from Washington State. Put up some solid numbers at Washington State. He's been labeled as a gunslinger. Also has some pocket presence to move around, create a little bit. I wouldn't call him a scrambler. I just call him a guy who can create a little bit more time, evade rush, and get the ball down the field. And then on the outside, they got a guy, Xavier Restrepo, 85 catches, 1,092 yards. The backup guy behind him was a guy last name George, 57 catches, 864 yards. They added 15 transfers outside of Cam Ward. You got Simeon Barrow, D tackle from Michigan State. A guy by the name of Sam Brown, who's supposed to be the speed guy. The guy that I think who makes their transfer portal completes is the running back from Oregon State, Damian Martinez. Went for over 1,000 last year. Workhorse back. Can give it to you however you want it. Downhill runs and get outside a little bit. And even on defense, man, they bring back a young guy, Ruben Bain, had 9 sacks last year. So I say all that to say, I just think Miami is built a little bit better to compete in this game and take it in, just from the playmakers they have, the depth they have. They don't have any real injuries coming into this game. And honestly, I'm going to tell you, outside of all the players and the schematics and everything, probably the thing that was most interesting that I think takes them over the top is their head coach, Mario Cristobal, hired a time management coach. And, he lost the game last year with a kind of a bonehead play against Georgia Tech, couldn't ran the clock out, called a play, guy fumbled, they lose the game. Just reading up a little bit, he admitted he called some timeouts that weren't necessarily the best way to use them in certain situations. And to me, that speaks to real growth. Coaches don't want to admit they were wrong for anything. So I think, and the thing is, I'm not coming down on the guy from the standpoint of like it's easy. I can only imagine you got to manage, 100 guys on the sideline, coaches, game plans, offense, defense, special teams. So, to try to put it all on one guy is a tough job to have. And just kind of giving you, our watchers, an insight of that. A lot of times, most coaching staffs have guys like that where, they might coach a position, but, there's kind of, I would call it, quote unquote, side job is, hey man, we need you for kind of time management. What do we do in this situation? We got 3rd and 2. Mm-hmm. We're going in. Hey, should we, or 4th and 2? Should we go for this? What do the numbers say? That type of thing. So I think it'll be a close game early, but I think Miami finds a way to get it done. And I just think they control the line of scrimmage on both sides. I really do. I think they're able to get to Florida's quarterback, Graham Mertz. And then I think they're able to get something in the run game too, Miami, on their offensive side, which greatly helps out Cam Ward because he's got a plethora of weapons. Miami, one thing Miami gonna have is some receivers. So
yeah,
but the bad part for Florida is, like I mentioned, the schedule they have, man. It's just, even if they lose this game, I think next week they have the game they should win, but after that it gets started for them. And best case scenario, they win, they kind of get some momentum, they keep going. But it's very conceivable their coach is out by week 4, week 5, based on their schedule and the previous years they've had. They went 5-7 last year, which don't fly in Florida. So, but again, it'll be a good game, man. I mean, you're talking hometown, in the state of Florida. A lot of them guys know each other. I'm sure there's been a lot of trash talk, whether it's in the media, social media. I'm sure there's been a lot of shit talking. So it'll be a good one. And I will say this. It's a small thing, but it's a big thing in rivalry games because we've seen it with Florida State and Florida, guys fighting in pregame. Composure is going to have to be at the forefront for both teams. You're going to have to let the nerves settle early and just kind of let the nonsense, whether the guy's chirping at you, whether a guy push you after a play, you're going to have to let that go just because early in the game, a personal foul could set you back and ultimately cost you. Just imagine a situation where you're going in to score, guy gets a taunting foul or something crazy, and now you push us out of field goal range. Now you push us from the low red to the high red, and we get a field goal versus a touchdown. So composure is going to have to be key. And I wouldn't rule out a coach onside kick to start a game, or a trick play, something. One of these coaches doing something to kind of get their team going and get that early momentum too.
Cool, man. I'm gonna throw a quick pick in there. I'm going with Miami, and I'm going for two reasons. One, anytime the ACC and the SEC are lining up, I'm gonna go with the ACC. But also, I think Miami is playing for a little bit more this year. They've been considered one of the best teams in the ACC, and they've got to prove it. But they're one of those blue blood programs that are going to constantly get the benefit of the doubt whenever they say they're better. People have a tendency to believe them year in and year out, even though most of the time recently they've kind of floundered out towards the end of the season. But I think with this Florida matchup, I think they're going to pull through because they got a real shot at the ACC and then also making the playoffs, man. You also got some more information for people with the Texas A&M Notre Dame game.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one, man. That's going to be a real interesting one, man. You got two defensive minds and Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame, former Ohio State linebacker, kind of made his bones with the defensive coordinator, linebacker coach, and worked his way up. I generally root for the guy, man, just because I love when players get in it. I love when players go to the top, and I hope this time around a person of color is able to do a little bit more than the last time and treat it a little bit better. Speaking about Ty Willingham, how he went out after 3 years.
Yeah.
And some people say, he didn't get the benefit of the doubt. They didn't give him enough time. So, I followed Marcus Freeman. The players rally behind him. So, I generally root for him. And I think college football is better when Notre Dame is good. I really do. And on the other side, you got Mike Elko, man. I'm a fan. I've been a fan since he was at Wake.
Yeah.
I really think highly of him. I think all his defenses have always been lights out, from Wake to Notre Dame to Duke, Texas A&M. He's done it everywhere he's went. The kind of subplots that's interesting is Notre Dame has Duke's quarterback through the transfer portal this year starting, who was Mike Elko's quarterback last year at Duke. So it's a lot of familiarity there, so much so that Elko said, he believed that Notre Dame's quarterback, Riley Leonard, has the benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying? He's seen the defenses or whatever, so he thinks that he has a good chance in doing well. It's just coach talk. He probably just, trying to give him something to make him feel good. But the interesting storyline there for Notre Dame is their offensive line. They lost two guys to the NFL draft. One first-round pick, Joe Alt, to the Chargers, and they lost another guy who was projected to start to injury in training camp, so he's out for the season. So as it stands right now, they're starting a freshman at left tackle, a sophomore at left tackle, and combined for the whole offensive line, they have 6 starts total.
Wow.
Whereas Texas A&M's defensive line is a strength of their team, or defense at least. You got a lot of sack production. They got a transfer guy in there from by the name of Nick Scouridon from Purdue, had 10 sacks last year in the Big Ten, and then 2 other guys who were previously there with decent production, a ton of snaps. Now, the thing that is probably an X factor for Texas A&M is the offensive coordinator, a guy by the name of Colin Klein, who played quarterback at Kansas State. His offenses have ranked 23 in yards per game and 446 last year at Kansas State, and he ranked 10th in scoring. And he's been categorized as kind of a wizard in the run game in terms of creating matchups, different personnel groupings, and even just speaking about the quarterback, kind of a quarterback whisperer where he's able to tailor game plans to a guy's strengths. And to me, that speaks to success. To me, in today's ball, man, guys can do a lot of different things and have a lot of different skill sets. So, to try to put a guy in one little small box when he can do a bunch of different things, to me, is unfair to that player. So, it's good to read about a coach that can say, "Hey, man, okay, I see you do this well, you don't do this well. Let me put you in this lane. Whether it's play calling, whether it's personnel groupings, whether it's tempo, a whole bunch of other different things." And I think it's going to help. I mean, the quarterback Connor Wegman is a former 5-star player. He's only had 253 pass attempts in 9 games. His career's been a little bit injury riddled. And I think the biggest thing for Texas A&M is just they should be able to control the line of scrimmage. I mean, they have some new starters on the offensive line through the portal. But I just think in terms of physicality, being able to move the ball a little bit, and I think they should be able to make a little bit of headway on the outside. On the flip of that, Notre Dame's strength probably is going to be their secondary. They have a young man, Benjamin Morrison, who's projected first-round draft pick. Another guy by the name of Xavier Watts, who led the nation with 7 picks last year. So, it's going to be a chess match, man. I think, again, whoever control the line of scrimmage should have the edge. Texas A&M is playing at home, which is, it's a tough place to play. That 12th man they have down there. You're talking about Texas heat. It's a lot of different things that could kind of derail Notre Dame. But ultimately, if Notre Dame can kind of keep Riley Leonard in the pocket, I know he has pretty good mobility. It's pretty good in the RPO game. Notre Dame lost a starting running back last year. So I think Texas A&M should be able to control up front. Not let Notre Dame get the run game started. And people want to harp on sack production, but that's not always the true story. Sometimes pressures, sometimes getting the guy off his spot, just making him uncomfortable, can hinder a pass game where he never really is able to get his feet set and push the ball down the field. So I like Texas A&M in the game. I think it'll be a lot of ebbs and flows. And I'll say this, man, whoever makes the biggest plays in special teams, too, will greatly help their chances. Because, week 1, special teams probably is things that probably not tightened up the most. Whether I guarantee you'll see a guy running late on the field. Because it's week 1, man. Your emotions is high. You're supposed to be on punt team, but you cheering for a play that happened the last series, and it happens, man. So, penalties, turnovers, and I think whoever can make a big play on special teams should greatly help their chances to win. But I like Texas A&M just because I think up front, man, I think they got just a better edge. And I just think they're more equipped for this first game, to just kind of go out there and kind of set the tone for the game.
Man, I think that's going to be a good game too, man. Just real quick, I'm going to go in and I'm going to pick Notre Dame. And the reason why I'm picking them is because I like their coach as well. And that's about it. I think that's about it. I still think that, Sam Hartman was a good quarterback. I don't want to take anything from him for last year at Notre Dame, but I just think it's some positions, and I'll get into it with my game this week. You can't just plug and play a quarterback. You can't. And for the second year in a row, they're plugging a guy. They're just picking a guy, and you're just throwing him in there. And I just think at some point, if you're really going to go to that next level for Notre Dame standards of that next level, you got to have that stud at quarterback. That's not a place where, for them and their expectations, you can't just throw anybody in there and think that they're just going to function. And again, nothing against the previous quarterbacks, but when Notre Dame has really had that next level of success, they've had studs at quarterback, unquestionable studs, and I think that may be something they're missing. Hopefully the coach can, do that. But I think that with Texas A&M, I think they're still trying to find themselves. I think that they're realizing that they're one of those schools that realize, well, maybe the SEC was too much for us. Because now, where they could have been competing for a conference championship if they would have stayed where they were, now ain't no way in hell they're going to sniff those national championship and really even a conference championship the way it's set up now, unless something drastically changes. But I'm going with Notre Dame, man. I'm going to jump to my game this week is I call it the best known unknown when it comes to LSU and USC, because you got two blue blood brands in college football that are well known, but they got so many unknowns now. Both teams lost Heisman Trophy candidates. You're talking about Jaden Daniels and on the flip side, Caleb Williams. So they both gone. They both lost some things on offense. LSU lost 2 first-round wide receivers. Again, you just don't plug and play a Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback and then 2 first-round draft picks at receivers. I understand the portal is what it is, but those are just things that are hard to replace. You have 2 coaches where there's still some unknown there. Yes, Brian Kelly has some success. They've won double-digit games, but for that LSU fan base that has high expectations, for the toughness of that SEC schedule, can he get them over that hump again? Can he do that? And then you got Lincoln Riley at USC. Okay, you go into the Big Ten. You still have to prove yourself because, again, that fan base at USC, they have high expectations, especially going into the Big Ten. Can you now start to get over that hump? And they both have, I think they both have replaced some coordinators. Again, their defenses, both teams' defenses were trash last year. Were trash. So, again, the best known unknown, you got the brands, but there's so much about a team. And there's kind of this college saying that, in this game in particular with these 2 programs, nothing you saw last year can be used to predict what they're going to do this year other than the loss of great players. That's it. And they both have to fill in. And, they both have some young quarterbacks that everybody is high on. But, again, they're coming into an environment where, again, there's no edge there. You're playing at a neutral site in Vegas. So that's why this I call it the best known unknown, because you got 2 known programs, so many unknown factors, so many pieces just unproven. I can't sit here and say Lincoln Riley is going to outcoach Brian Kelly or Brian Kelly is going to outcoach Lincoln Riley. What I see is 2 teams that are going to score a lot of points because the defense is garbage. But for me, I'm going to give the edge to LSU because they have reported that they've got the best offensive line in the country. And for the first time in LSU's history, they may have an offensive lineman drafted in the first round. So just as, in other games you talked about where the defensive line is going to be important, I think in this one, when you have a young quarterback, the best thing that can help his confidence is know that he's going to be protected. And USC, I don't think even though they have a new defensive coordinator, I don't think it's enough to where you're going to cause problems with one of the best offensive lines in college football. I mean, your blitzes can be as exotic as you want them to be. You can bring the corner, you can bring the safety, hell, you can bring the water boy. But when you're talking about you playing against one of the best offensive lines in the country with potential first-round draft picks, that I think is going to be the deciding factor because everywhere else they match up well. They both got terrible defenses. They both are going to have quarterbacks stepping into that main stage early on. And then again, it's also week 1. But I think both coaches are playing that. I think the losing coach definitely goes on the hot seat, and I think the winning coach gets a boost. Now, who that's going to be? So I think Brian Kelly walks away with a close victory and a high-scoring game. Again, I don't see where the defenses are just going to offer enough to slow down those offenses. And I think that Lincoln Riley is a good enough offensive mind where he's going to be able to put up points against that defense. If I read correctly, man, they both finished 118 and 119 in defense last year.
Yeah, man.
So with that, man, that's why I say it's so many unknowns where the areas that they struggle in, they match up in. So, again, my concern at first was when I first started digging into it was LSU was losing damn near 80% of their offense when you talk about wide receivers and quarterback leaving. But USC was losing the same thing in Caleb Williams. And as I just mentioned about Notre Dame, some things you just can't plug and play. Yeah, next man up doesn't mean the next man's at the same caliber.
Right. Especially not
And
quarter.
exactly. And then to have two wide receivers, two first round draft picks at wide receiver in your program. So essentially you have to replace three first round players on your offense in less than a year.
Right.
And while I think there's some struggles, it feels good knowing you got some guys up front that can protect that young guy. So I'm gonna give the edge to LSU simply because they're playing in a neutral site. They're playing against a terrible defense, and they're coming in with a lot of confidence, having a great offense. And I think Brian Kelly's really trying to prove that he is that guy in the SEC. He needs to be mentioned as one of those elite coaches. And to do that, he has to win games like this against the blue blood programs and start establishing himself because that SEC conference that schedule is coming around the corner. And USC, I think, is going to have to adjust to playing a different brand of football. You know, USC is not, in my opinion, not to say they aren't tough, but they play a different brand of football. And now you're going into the Big Ten where a lot of it is still smash and punch you in the mouth. And so they've got to start getting adjusted to that. But I think Brian Kelly I think ultimately LSU pulls it out, but it's going to be a high-scoring game. I wouldn't be shocked if both teams put up 40.
No, I agree, man. I think LSU wins the game. I actually think they win it easily. Speak about coordinator. The coordinator, Dan Lynn, was in training camp with me in 2013. His dad was our running back coach, Anthony Lynn. And so he comes over from UCLA, and I know they like to pressure the quarterback. My biggest thing with USC, man, is the last couple of years, they had this guy, Alex Grinch, was the defensive coordinator.
Yep.
And supposedly him and Lincoln had, they were cool. They had went back a little while. Man, they couldn't stop a nosebleed, man. And like to the point where you're looking, watching their games, like, man, that's a simple dive. A dive going 80
Yep.
yards. Like, how you do that, man? And it ain't because of talent, because they getting the best of the best on the West Coast, But, sometimes, a lot of times, really, whatever your coach is, that's what your identity of your team's going to be. If your coach is a disciplined person, your team's going to be disciplined. If your
Yeah.
coach is offensive minded and don't care nothing about defense, y'all going to be scoring points, but you can't stop nobody.
Yeah.
So I think, man, all of the pressure is on Lincoln Riley. Even in what I think is going to be a loss, that loss is going to be, scrutinized. Like, how did you lose? And don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
nobody's going to want to see him lose. But, if you lose a close game on a field goal, that's one thing. But if, you getting blown out by 20 going into the third, man, it's going to be some cause for his head.
Yeah.
Um, I really do think that, you mentioned LSU losing wide receivers. I say this, man, if it's anywhere you want to be to have to lose wide receivers, it's in the state of Louisiana because they put them out, man. From Odell
Yeah.
Beckham to Chase to Jarvis Landry to the Neighbors and Brian Thomas, are just all them kids are from Louisiana. And so
Yeah.
they got some guys. I know they got some running backs, and you spoke to the offensive line. They actually got two. Both their tackles are projected first round draft picks. So that's to me. If I'm Lincoln Riley and Dan Lynn, man, I'm telling my boys, hey man, y'all better whatever shoulder pads you normally wear, you might want to get some bigger ones this week because they're coming downhill. And then we just
And,
talk
and
about the South, man.
yeah.
Obviously we're from the South, man, and we understand that not only are you getting physical, but you getting big, fast, and physical. You
That's
know,
what I was going to say. You're getting a total athlete that you're going to have to deal with because just as you have to wear extra pads, you better wear some of those speed cleats because you can't come out there on those high top molds and think you about to run these cats down. It don't work like that. And while USC, they've got some athletes, I just don't see how they'll be able to impact that offense with the way that offensive line is, and I think that USC's defense is a little bit worse than LSU's. Even though they got a new defensive coordinator, I think that is going to be a big factor. Is like you said, worst case scenario, LSU gets in a bind, let's run it down their throat and kill the clock. Like when you got that ace in the hole that we can line up and just punch you in the mouth for 10 to 12 plays, take time out the clock and punch it in. That's a great card to have in your back pocket and build the confidence of a young quarterback, man. So I'm with you. I just think it might be a little bit close because LSU again hasn't really shown that they're ready just to shut teams down, but I think ultimately they pull it out.
I'll say this to the end that I think it'll be a home game for LSU, man. I
In
think,
Vegas, you think so?
oh yeah, they coming. They sell out every home game. LSU fans, they travel, and it's in Vegas, like you said. So, you go to that area, it's basically a Vegas without all the casinos, and especially in New Orleans, they got casinos in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So they gonna travel, and don't get me wrong, USC fans are gonna come. I think the LSU fans will greatly outnumber the USC fans. Um, and then you just gotta think, man. You in California, you LA, man. You got stuff to do. You ain't got to do in Louisiana. It's like, what we doing this Saturday? We going to
Yeah.
Vegas. You know what I'm saying? Or Sunday. And
Yeah.
then it's I love Lincoln Riley strictly for how he develops quarterbacks. But there's something about, he's trying, to me, it's always like he's trying to win these fights and these games with style points. When sometimes, man, you got to really leave your marks on games in a physical way. You know what I'm saying? To where it leaves no doubt, and then two, you're setting the tempo and the tone for your team. Because if
Yeah.
you just like you ask most linemen, they'd rather run block than pass block any day of the week. They want
Yeah.
to fire off the ball. And so when you create that type of environment and atmosphere to where it's like, nah, like Caleb gonna get his numbers, but hey, best believe we rolling off this ball and we moving people off the line of scrimmage. And I don't know that you can necessarily set that tone when you got so many passing attempts. And again, don't get me wrong, you got a new guy starting this year, so I guarantee that it's not gonna be the same volume of down the field passes that Caleb had. That was special talent. This guy, he's just trying to get started in this game. But it'll be interesting to see how Lincoln Riley comes out. It really will, because
Yeah.
he's gonna have to kind of come out there and do something again, just like I spoke to about the Miami and Florida game. Somebody gonna have to throw the first punch, and running
Yeah.
the lead week with an 8-man box ain't gonna get it done. You know what I'm saying? Like running something that everybody know you about. No, that's not gonna get it done. You
Yeah.
come out with some exotic formation. Maybe you start out with some tempo. Maybe you got some different personnel groupings that hadn't shown up. You got to do something to get people off their mark, because coordinators and coaches are just going off what they've seen in the past. And then even to say that, it'd be interesting what his first 15 plays are going to be. How you
Yeah.
got that scripted? Is it a script? Or you just like, nah, we just gonna get into our offense? Or I'm like, nah, let's see how they handle this. Let's see how they handle some shifts in motion. Even stuff like hard count, man. You think, man, guys, this is the first game of the season. It's the only game of the day. So everybody amped up. Come out first series, couple hard counts. Guys gonna jump because they ready to go.
Yeah.
Play their aggressiveness against them. Get you an easy first down. Little small things that, although they won't show up in the scoreboard, any offense is gonna take a free 10 yards or 5 yards to get closer. That's the difference
Yeah.
between sometimes a field goal and a touchdown. You know what I'm saying? So again, it's gonna be a chess match, and what you spoke to about Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley is true, man. Two guys making a lot of money with a lot of pressure on them at big time programs that, man, them folks ain't giving. They gonna give you your first 2 games of your contract. After that, they on your
That's it.
ass. You know what I'm saying?
That's it. That's it. And again, LSU, you take a loss going into your SEC schedule. Oh, it's gonna be the swamp is gonna be ready to take you under. And speaking of coaches, man, speaking of coaches that have something to prove, I want to jump into Colorado, North Dakota State. Kicks off Thursday night. I'm looking forward to it. You and I have talked a lot about this game. And for me, this game is less about yardage on the field. I think what you have coming to the table are two programs with different things to prove. I think Colorado has to prove, Colorado and Coach Prime has to prove now that they are worth everything that they've been built up to be. I'm not saying they need to run the table and go undefeated, but they are playing. I think Coach Prime is playing for the strength of his name and reputation as a coach. He solidified as a player in all these other aspects of his life. He solidified. And what he's going up against at North Dakota State is a program that is trying to solidify themselves as just legit. I don't think they're trying to. They've already proven with 9 out of the last 13 national championships in the subdivision that they've proven that they're dominant there. But I think that they're playing just for respect, period. That you're not just going to schedule us and think you're going to roll over us. And they're coming to play to win. They're going to be well coached. They're going to be disciplined. And that is where the real test for Colorado is going to be. Is can they be the team that is disciplined for 4 straight quarters? And again, is Coach Prime going to coach to win, or is he going to coach not to lose? Unfortunately, you and I have been in those situations where you know the difference when a team is trying to win versus not lose. And I don't think that Coach Prime will see it that way, but it's more than just him. I'm talking about the players. How are they going to respond? Because North Dakota State, they're going to put up points because they're that good at that level and they're that well coached. And what I mean by points is I'm not saying they're going to roll in and put up 30, 40 points. I'm saying they're going to score. And can Colorado, are they at a place where they are mentally tough to deal with it? I'm not saying they aren't. I'm not saying they are. I'm saying it's going to be tested. I think Coach Prime is going to be tested, because he's going up against another great head coach that knows how. See, that program knows how to win. When you have a program that knows how to win versus a program that's still trying to figure it out, to the point you made earlier, they're going to do the little things right. You're not going to see them turn the ball over. You're not going to see many penalties, especially in a big game. And so can Coach Prime's program, are they at the point now where they are ready to learn how to win? Because North Dakota State has that. I'm going to give the edge to Colorado just because of it just being a larger program. However, if North Dakota State won on a field goal or just pulled it out somehow, I wouldn't be shocked. But I'm picking Colorado on that one.
Man, I'm I'm gonna say this, man.
Here we go. Here we go.
And to your point about winning, a lot of people like the idea of winning, but they're not committed to winning.
Yeah.
And to be committed to winning and buy into what your coach is selling, whether that's discipline, whether that's doing the small things right, it could be anything from. And I've heard this from different guys from different programs. Man, everybody had to have their socks at a certain length, or else. You and I both know Big Fred Robbins, man, playing for the Giants, man. You had to be 5 minutes early to be considered on time.
Yep.
It's like small things, right? And so as a player, you're like, man, this is crap, this is bullshit. But you buy in and you fall in line and you understand the structure of things. And then your coach kind of gets into why, and then you just kind of go about it. We went through the same thing with Caldwell. No
Yeah.
earrings, no hats.
No facial, none of the facial hair, the goatee stuff, none of that.
And didn't like it, but eventually it becomes a way of life to where you like kind of checking yourself, like, oh man, let me take my hat off, whatever.
Yep.
I say all that to say, you remember when Princeton would play like Kentucky in the first round and beat them,
Yep.
or Dartmouth or some team that that's an Ivy League team, they should blow them out. I'm picking North Dakota State, and the reason why I just think
Wow.
I think fundamentals always beats the highlight plays. Always. You don't care what level you're talking about. You talking about basketball, whether We're going to set fundamental picks and get guys open. We're going to move the ball. Y'all just want to throw oops and shoot threes. It looks good. It does. It looks good. But your three-pointers ain't always going to go down. Eventually, they're going to see that play that y'all running where y'all keep trying to throw oops. Eventually, they're going to start getting back on defense where y'all can't try to run, get in the fast break. And then I just think with Colorado and their brand and how they do things through transfer portal, it's always tough. And we spoke about this last week. It's tough when you don't have continuity and familiarity. Where, sometimes I don't have to talk to a certain player I've been around for 3 years to look at him and say, hey, man, we got to pick this up. We're getting dogged out here. And we both lock eyes and come to whatever kind of agreement with ourselves and say, all right, we need to get on point. You know what I'm saying? And then I think, too, like you spoke to it, man, when you're winning and you understand how to win and you understand the things that you have to do to ensure that and what to not to do, I think they come in super confident. I think they established the run game, which Colorado was terrible at last year. Coach Prime has talked about, he's built up more depth. He's gotten better players out of the portal, but you're going to have to see that game one. North Dakota, them kids been together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They've been running the same plays. They know like the back of their hand, and I'm sure the backups know them. You know what I'm saying? Now, will the guys look the part? They probably ain't going to look like Colorado in terms of some of their skill players and different things like that, but you would be surprised how important it is to run a route at 18 yards when a coach tell you running at 18 versus you running at 17 and a half and you cause an interception. I guarantee you guys at North Dakota State are doing everything that is supposed to be done, how they've been coached how to do it. Whereas I'm not saying Coach Prime players aren't doing that or they're purposely not doing that, but they haven't been there collectively long enough to be immersed in the program and know, I think, what Coach Prime wants out of this. Now, I will say this. This game for Colorado is going to hinge strictly on Shadour's shoulders. He going to have to get hot, and he going to have to stay hot. I know they got some weapons on the outside. I just think the unknown for Colorado, and which was their Achilles heel, was the defensive line. I think if they get dominated on either one of them, it ain't going to work for them, man. You fighting. You look like you fighting Peter McNeely, but hey, Peter McNeely got hands. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, you know what I'm saying? I can take some punches, but I can throw them out too.
Yeah.
I think that's how North Dakota State gonna look at it. Like, and best believe, man, you and I both went through it. I'll say this on air. Appalachian State Mountaineers was the hardest playing football team I ever played against on any level. I ain't never played against some people playing so hard and so fundamentally sound against us, and I think that was, 2000, 2001.
It was their Super Bowl.
It was a Super Bowl, and they felt slighted because we were D1 and they weren't.
And
you could tell by the way they were playing, they was being told something that we weren't being told. We were just being told this is just another game, blah, blah, blah. Whatever their coach told them was personal. And it was hard.
And they coach like that too. That's what I was saying. They coach like that.
Yeah.
And I think North Dakota State is going to bring that to the table. But the factor that I think would put Colorado over is that damn Travis Hunter. Nobody in the country has an answer for that dude. And as long as they've got him, he is going to be that player on offense and defense that you're gonna have to let him get off. You're gonna have to, because if you spin your wheels trying to stop Travis Hunter on offense, if you spin your wheels on as a defensive coordinator trying to slide the coverage over and get all double coverage and all this and that, you're gonna waste your time, because he's gonna get force fed the ball. When it's time to flip it over, he's gonna take away half your field. And that's why I think you gotta. I think he is going to be the one that's getting his. But it's almost like in basketball, if you playing against LeBron, okay, just let him get his 30. Let him get his 30, but you take out everybody else, because you're not going to really stop him. And I think that's where the coaching comes in for North Dakota State, where they've again Oh, you got Travis Hunter and Shador. Yeah, well, we'll let them play catch all game, but you ain't gonna be able to hit nobody else,
I'll say this
especially
too.
if they can't run the ball.
I'll say this too, and I think it's very important for Colorado. They got three new coordinators,
Yeah,
and they all got to find a way to get in the rhythm. This ain't a scrimmage. This ain't a mock game. It's real bullets against some people who've been winning. We've been winning. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? And so, and when I say get in rhythm, whether that's on offense, you got that 15 play script. Maybe five of the plays working. You keep adding that. You keep expanding a little bit from that. You get into a rhythm with your normal play calling. Defensively, you're gonna have to figure out, hey, what is North Dakota State trying to do to us, and what are our answers?
yeah,
And then on special teams, which is you and I both know is a huge, huge part of the game. Them guys got to be dialed in fundamentally and schematically because you don't have to necessarily return kicks all the way, but if you averaging 15, 20 yards of punt return, you get into the 30, 40 every time on kickoff return, and that's a game killer, man.
yeah,
That's a game killer. Even field goal and field goal block, man. If guys not keyed in and locked in on assignments, man, a blocked field goal or a little pressure up the middle, make a kick or miss is critical, man. Teams lose all the time by 1 point that you like,
yeah,
oh, you just assume, well, he gonna make that. That ain't nothing.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So Colorado, I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel good about him, mainly just because Shador. I really do. I think he's the best quarterback in the nation. I think he should be the top quarterback drafted.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he has enough around him if they get in trouble. Um, some other guys that make plays. Because you mentioned Travis, yes. I know they got some running backs. They got a guy transferring from Ohio State. But I think it's null and void if your offensive line can't get pushed for him or if they can't protect
Exactly.
him. Or you've seen the hits he was taking last year.
Exactly.
So it'll be interesting, man. At the end of the day, for Prime, man, I really wish that'd be his second game. I wish they
Oh
would have
yeah.
scheduled like Akron or somebody. No disrespect to Akron, but
Oh, you meant that. You meant that.
I wish they would have scheduled somebody that would have been a little bit more guarantee win and then. Because I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, man, I think some teams who aren't necessarily there yet, they benefit more for quote unquote cakewalk. I don't like saying that, but a team that you're paying them to beat them essentially. I like that. Then roll in North Dakota State. Now you hitting on cylinders. Your coordinators got a little rhythm. You start seeing like, man, okay, hey, put this guy in at D tackle. That's a run stopper. We got to play the
Yeah.
run team, that type of thing. But it can't change the past or whatever. It is what it is. But I say I like North Dakota State I like them by 6, man.
Oh wow. You really okay? So, Pace, before we get out of here, I want to give a shout out to Zamir White with the Raiders. Zamir's from my hometown, Laurinburg, North Carolina, to all the listeners out there from my hometown. Zamir's been named the starting running back for the Raiders going into week 1. And I want to wish him a lot of success, man, because he's had a journey in his life, even before getting to Georgia. Just the things that he went through. I don't want to get into his personal situations like that, but just his journey. He had 2 major knee injuries. One going into Georgia, then another one once he got there, and he's been able to overcome that. Won a national championship, split time while he was at Georgia, and so for him to keep his head down when he got to the Raiders and really work to earn that position with the new coach. Man, I just had a senior moment. What's the coach's name? He played with Fred
Antonio
Pierce
Pierce.
with AP. So I just want to give a shout out to him. And Pace, what was it like when you got that conversation with your position coach? I don't know if the position coach or coordinator told you that, hey man, hey, you starting. Not because of injury, but because you've earned it. What was that moment like?
Um, Man, my career's been it was weird. I kind of was just thrust into the starting role my rookie year, and I probably shouldn't have been starting. And then I lost it until my last year in Arizona, where I had to go earn it. And so that was dope because I knew, you know what I'm saying, I was trying to hit free agency. I was trying to kind of get my career back on track. So my work ethic was different. My focus was different, and it was like it was gratifying that the work that I put in paid off. You know what I mean? And then from that point, it just took off. I mean, I remember my coach, my position coach, was like, "Look, man, it's between you and another guy." He's like, it's 50-50. We're gonna let the best man roll. And I ain't say nothing after that. I just like appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? I ain't need no to question nothing after that. I ain't need no assurances. I just needed a chance for somebody to say, "We're gonna give you a chance." You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And to me, if you a player, man, that's all you want. You just want a chance to just go out there and ball. You know what I'm saying? Don't you ain't got to give me no extra assurances. You know what I'm saying? Like let me go do my thing. You know what I'm saying? Let coach me up, good, bad, and you know at that point it's just best man win. I mean, I think if you play the game long enough, you're gonna be in a position battle,
Yeah.
and the truth of it is it brings the best out of you because you know every play matters. You know what I'm saying? Even your individual drills matter. Your warm ups matter. You like every time you step out there, you trying to be on point because like man, you trying to show everybody, man, I want this. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that one is kind of it's kind of like showcasing the work you've been putting in off the field. You know what I mean? Whether it's in the film, you know, a lot of people. If you're at the pro level, if you're in major college football, it's not a physical thing that's lacking because you're at the top. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times it's the whether it's focus, whether it's discipline, film study, taking care of your body. You know, you got a lot of guys that kind of always just nicked up, and it's hard for coaches to trust them because it's like every time they're ready to put you in, you're like, ah man, my hamstring, coach. You're like, bro, you just got healthy. You just told me, you know. So I think the thing for Zamir or anybody who's in that position, man, is just take it, man, and take that same work ethic and drive that you was trying to do to get the spot, use that to keep the spot. And then for me, what I found is like I just started looking at every day, man, just trying to get better at something every day.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be the most frivolous thing, man. Like just get better at something every day, just to kind of keep yourself motivated. Because at the end of the day, you know what the other side look like. It ain't fun watching somebody else getting sacks. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Damn sure ain't fun watching somebody else run the ball, getting touchdowns and getting their name shouted over the intercom. So, and I've been paying attention to him a little bit, man. He looked good, like he done bulked up a little bit, man. He's physical in the pass protection game. So it looked like to me a lot of things that probably was question marks. He went in the offseason and was like, nah, I'm gonna shore that up. And ain't no more questions. Only question is
Yeah.
how many times you gonna give me this ball. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm glad he did that, man. I get to your point. It shows his focus and wanting to get better and willing to be coached and take the things that he's not that good at and get better. Ooh, excuse me. So, yeah, shout out to Zamir, man, and all the people back home. You got my support and the whole town rooting for you. So just keep up the good work. Last topic, out of bounds topic, man. Pace, there was a subject you and I talked about that there are two astronauts, man. And it's not funny, but it kind of is funny. They're safe. They're good now. So Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore, they launched on June 5th, and they were up there by, about a week, and they had some issues with the space shuttle that took them up there was deemed unsafe to bring them back. So they're going to bring that space shuttle back unmanned, and I think SpaceX is going to send another space shuttle up with some astronauts to get them. They're safe. That the International Space Center, Space Station. I'm sorry, the International Space Station. They are working with the people at the space station to do experiments. So they're busy every day. But the kicker is they won't be able to get help until February 2025. So they won't be back until February. So essentially, a 1 week trip turned into a 9-month stay in outer space, and they can't get to you to bring you back. That's got to be the weirdest place to get stuck on this work. Can you imagine getting that phone call like, hey, we can't bring you back because what you went there with is too raggedy to bring you back. So we can't bring you. We can't come get you right now. And you like, well, when you gonna come get me? February 2025.
Man, Smitty, the amount of shit I would have been talking on that phone. First of all, they would have got through with the whole conversation. It would have been silent for at least 2 minutes. They would have been like, "Hello, Sonny, you ready?" I'm talking reckless to my superior, everybody, telling man, get so and so on the phone, get Colin Powell on the phone, get anybody you can think. I'm talking cash money shit, and then after that. I'm thinking the biggest number they can get together for cash money. So as soon as I land back in February 2025, I need my money waiting on me, sit on the ground in a briefcase.
How much would it take? How much would the U.S. government have to pay you to be okay with leaving your ass in outer space for 9 months?
I need 20. I settle for 15 cash million. 15 million cash.
I need 100. I need 100. I need 100.
Anybody who's ever watched Armageddon and Steve Buscemi's character when they had to go up there and try to blow that rock up, and he was, I don't want to pay taxes no more. I won't pay taxes no more. My kids and everybody in my generations from now on need to go to school for free. Any school they want. And then I'm gonna throw something random in there, like I need a farm with camels and ostrich. I need something just for the inconvenience you put my family through. I need for y'all to have that same inconvenience. I needed just something crazy, man. But man, I say this, man. First of all, shout out to NASA and space, man. I've always been interested with the universe and just how things go, man. Science is a dope thing, man. But I know it's not like, oh, they just sent you up there for just a week time, and then if you pass that week, then you're in trouble. So I know like there's a lot of preparation that goes into that, and I know they're always prepared for worst case scenario. You know what I'm saying? So that's good for those people's livelihood and just well being. I mean, it's like I have to tell my kids, like, yo, when I was in kindergarten, we watched the space. Remember when the ship?
Yeah, Discovery blew up. Yeah.
Man, Smitty, no lie, man. You remember back in the day, they used to roll the TV out on the stand.
Yep.
Rolled it out in front of the whole class. Teacher was counting down. It went up. And I remember, I never forget this, when it blew up, man. Everybody was like, oh. The teacher would hurry, went over there and cut the TV off, like, trying to change the subject.
Unplugged it, and rolled it back on up out of there.
Man, but, you got to think, man, like, it's never good to see the best of the best to be compromised in any kind of situation. For you to be able to have the ability to go up into space speaks to your intellect, your physical well-being, and then the sacrifice, man. I mean, it sounds good, but I guarantee you, man, you're going to have to make a whole... For you to come to me and be like, hey, Pace, man, what's up? You trying to go up to space? Even people taking the trip over there with Elon Musk, like, no.
Yeah, and see, if you look up the salaries, if you get a chance, research the salaries of astronauts. They're not becoming millionaires, man. For me, because to get me go up there, I know you said 15 to 20. I need 100 mil, and then on top of that, I don't need you to pay for my kids to go to school. I need you to name the school after me. I need at least one university named after me. I need a car named after me. I need 100 mil. I'm with you. No more taxes, and all my food better be organic, fresh from here on out. I don't want to have to. I want all my stuff top it. I want the best food out there. I need you to bring it to me. So I need Wagyu beef. I need that free range chicken. As a matter of fact, I want my chickens to be grown with shoes on. You know what I'm saying? I don't even want them touching the ground. You see what I'm saying? I want them kept in air conditioned, the whole nine. So that's my thing. I'm gonna need 100 mil just to start. Listen, I'm gonna look that up, man. The salary of astronauts, because I think sometimes people don't. Okay. So in 2024, NASA civilian astronauts earn between $84,000 and $115,000 per year.
Oh no. No,
Terribly underpaid.
they can't be.
Terribly underpaid. So yeah, I need that. Yeah,
You need to be at least 500,000. I mean, maybe not
yeah.
all of them, because I know all of them aren't necessarily like in a space to be able to go into space. But if you have the ability, you done did met all the requirements. Oh, you need to be started at 500,000.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so I'm gonna need 100 million, some of the best food, and one other thing, I'm gonna need for my Wi-Fi to never go out. That's what you
But you know
going up
what's
in space. You growing plants. I get it, but can you come up with? Can you make my Wi-Fi connection just permanent and better? So
but you,
that's what it would take for me to go up in space.
but you know what's crazy though, man? It's like it keeps being Boeing. You know, they've had issues with planes. Now you got the spaceship. And I don't know, man. I ain't trying to say this in any kind of conspiracy theory way, but it just would seem a little bit more detail would have been looked into that. Like, hey, wait a minute now. You know what I'm saying? Like, who gonna
Yeah,
use what plane we using? You know what I'm saying? But
and see, that's one of those things where you don't know until you get up there.
yeah,
You can have simulators, but once you get up there, and that's almost like I mean, I know it ain't the same, but when I first read the article, I was thinking about, dog, all those times I used to get stuck at the Friday night football games before I started playing. You get somebody, mama, to take you out there, and then you call, mama, will you come and get me? No, you find your own way back. Well, ain't no way back now. You in space.
but
And then
even
they tell you February 2025, you gonna miss what? You can't even vote. You stuck up there so long,
but
so you
what's
gonna miss the election, all of that stuff. And I get it. The good thing is they're not just floating around stuck on that same aircraft. Thinking that putting their life in danger. They're in a decently safe space comparative to where they are, but to know that your ride home ain't gonna make it back home with you in it, and they got to bring somebody. And I only think they're making this trip just to get them. They're just going anyway. So that's like, again, you stuck at a football game and you catching your neighbor who is really coming from the store. They really ain't stopping for you, but you catch them and they coming from the store and just giving you a ride. So when they come back, they need to give them a lot, man. They need a lot. But Pace,
hopefully they
man,
come
this
back.
been go ahead.
I was about to say, man, hopefully they come back just good from a physical standpoint. I know, just reading and watching stuff, space can play, just being up there can play a little games with your body in terms of just coming back. I know it's like a little period of time when they get back on the ground and got to go through testing and whatever. And I say that to say, like, if you were only expected to be up there 3 weeks, now you up there 9 months. Like, will you train physically to only be up there 3 weeks? You know what I mean? Versus a
See,
9 month haul. So
that's what
those
I'm saying.
unknowns.
That's what I said. The food I eat from here on out, if I'm up there that long, it's got to be right. You ain't gonna send me
They
up in
gonna have to.
space for 9 months, and I got Popeye's chicken waiting on me when I
Yeah,
get back.
I need glacier water from Antarctica. I need water they ain't even never seen none of this industrialized world air. I need pure, pure water.
That's what I'm saying. So, shout out to what I want to make sure I get their names right, man. Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore. Shout out to them for holding it down. Hopefully, reach out to us if y'all happen to tap in and catch the show. It ain't like you got nothing else to do for the next 9 months. So, anyway, Pace, man, it's been another dope episode. We're gonna come back at you guys again. We're gonna check out week 1 of college football, and then next week we're gonna come and talk about some of the NFL and some other sports stories.
All right, man, for sure. It's been a blast as usual.